So welcome to the Black Hole Podcast.
Hello. Welcome, folks.
I am
am
your
one
host,
of our
Tyomi.
Oh, see, it's just like a man stepping on you already.
So we're just going to get started with introductions. Nico, I'll let you have the floor first and introduce yourself. This is a podcast focused on topics centered around the Black experience. Our first episode focuses on sex and intimacy, and we have Setting Jasmine and Noire as our guests tonight. And this is going to be more of like a conversation, so we do have people in the chat. You can go ahead and put your questions and comments inside of the chat box. If you are new to Zoom, if you look on the bottom of your screen, there's a little bubble with a little thing coming off of it. Use that to communicate with us throughout the conversation. And we look forward to hearing from you and hearing your feedback. I'll be feeding it into the conversation as we go along. And Nico, I only just met you, so I'm not sure how much experience you have with like the digital communication space and like hosting these types of shindigs. So
Yeah.
I do.
No, it's cool. I've done a couple podcasts, but this is definitely my first venture with something like this. So I'm really excited to explore it with you and to learn, and also just get to know a whole lot of new people. I'm really excited to talk to King Noire and Jasmine tonight. So we should have a good show.
So I think that we should definitely introduce ourselves as hosts, since this is our first episode, but this won't be the last. Nico, I'll let you have the floor first.
Thank you. So I'm Nil or Nico. I'm a multi-hyphenate. I put the emphasis on hyphenate. I'm not the beginning, I'm not the end, I'm everything in between when it comes to art and creativity. So I'm primarily a rapper. A friend of mine put it like as a holistic rapper. I do the whole thing, and I come at it from a holistic standpoint. So a lot of those views are going to be presented on the podcast, but there are a lot of things that can be reflected in my music and my art as we, talk about relationships. I happen to be somebody who's in a polyamorous or open relationship, and also just views on life, whether we're talking about, gender, sexuality, identity. I'm here to get into all of the shits.
I'm excited. Well, I'm Tyomi. I am a certified sexologist and tantric practitioner, also a pleasure coach and a proud kinkster. I'm excited because these two are very special to me. Like they have literally changed my life, and I tell everybody that. And in my profession as a sexologist, I thought it was very important for me to not just talk the talk, but to walk it. And I am a kinky bitch. Okay, I will admit that now, and I can do that proudly because of these two. And we have a personal relationship and a professional relationship, and a very public one too, with my public fetish coaching that has like bus four. Am I your oldest client, like longest client now at this point, or no?
I have a few
OGs.
that they booked me from experience and experiences that go back for a while. You are our most public.
The longest
public
facing
like you got that. All the other OGs I can't even. I don't even know if I know who they is. You know what I mean? I can't say nothing else.
Stop talking. Stop it.
People might put the timeline together and shit.
Oh. Yo, the internet never forgets.
Yo, never.
That's why I don't be on the internet. Only Tyomi.
Man, listen, I'm gonna let them introduce.
For a long time though.
A long time, and like I love them because I've always been like, they are about their business and they're beautiful people. And I was just like, coming into Kink, I need some sexy Black people to teach me and guide me, but do it safely. So, you know, I want you guys to just introduce yourselves to the people who don't know who you are and are becoming acquainted.
Well, I am Jet Setting Jasmine. I am one half owner of the Jet Setting Jasmine LLC Adult Entertainment and Education Company. I am also the owner of Blue Pearl Therapy, which is a full service virtual therapy practice, where I am also the lead therapist there. Yeah, you can tell all the other stuff.
My name is King Noire. I am the other half of Jet Setting Jasmine LLC, Royal Fetish Films, kinky pop-up events, fantasy flight parties, Royal Fetish Entertainment, which also encompasses live shows, music, fetish training. You're a holistic rapper. I'm a holistic rapper. You know what I'm saying? So,
Hey.
you know,
Y'all can make some good music. Sounds like some sexy vegan shit.
My life is like a movie.
First album,
Pictures.
veganism and vibrators. Let's get it.
Hold that.
Love it, love it.
No,
Yeah,
for
but
sure. And I feel like the black hole is a space to have that type of conversation. So I'm with
There
it.
you go.
Yes.
Well, yeah, we love to help people explore their kinks, their fetishes, find safe ways to do so, and orgasmic ways to live it out.
Yeah. And I think that's
And you guys
actually
help
like
me a lot.
Oh, go for it. Oh, I would love to hear about this.
I
did they
mean,
help?
I always had a fascination with kink. It was just, it seemed dark to me. And that was just a perception off of like the only representations of kink that I had saw. But then seeing beautiful Black people expressing themselves this way, I was like, ooh, I need to know more. And also I would just feel safe exploring. And like you guys over the last 4 years have just like opened me up in ways that I never thought. Like, yo, I think about that time we went to London and we were at that party and we did that public display. Yo.
That was
Yo, can y'all send me that video?
That was
I need.
You still didn't learn to wear panties when out and about.
That's all right. I don't want her to learn that lesson.
Because just
yes.
6 months ago.
Thank you, Kink, for advocating for me. I don't want to wear panties.
The last time we were out and about in Atlanta, her ass was out. Literally. Out. Yeah, you're an exhibitionist.
Yes, I am.
That's why we work well together.
We do.
How about you, Nico? I mean, I know you're a performer and an artist, but would you consider yourself a sexual exhibitionist or a voyeur?
I would say more so voyeur than exhibitionist. I don't have a lot of experience with kink. It intrigues me. I just love stories in general, as a storyteller, but like I love hearing stories. So it's like I've only heard what I've heard, and I've actually not had the opportunity to have a lot of conversations with Black people in the space. And so for the same, kind of reasons that Tyomi was bringing up, it's like I haven't associated it with it being a safe space. So I haven't dove into it as much as I would like to, or as much as I'd like to dive into things that intrigue me. So that's part of actually what has me excited about continuing to work with Tyomi, but talking to you guys tonight.
Yeah, you'll hear some stuff tonight, but yeah, you're looking at 3 people who are very sure about who they are. And I just have to thank you guys, because you really have changed my life, like expanded my awareness of sex in ways that just are like so pleasurable. Like today at dinner, I told my best friend here in New York, I was like, I need a spanking from our new boyfriend. And he doesn't understand the context for real, but like, the fact that I can be at dinner and just say that and not feel like, what the fuck, people are like, what? He was like, oh, okay. I'm like, look, I'm kinky. I like to be spanked. I like impact,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so.
Nice. Somebody has a
And I think that's actually something that makes me like want to dive into like one of the questions that we had up here, because I would love to get like some perspective on how you guys differentiate between sex and intimacy, or is there a difference for you?
Oh, that's a great question. I think oftentimes the two get mistaken and are often are felt to be interchangeable, but you can certainly have intimacy without sex. And we certainly see, unfortunately, a lot of sex without any intimacy. You know, so really intimacy is about relating with someone else. And we can do that in so many ways. We're having an intimate moment right here. We're having a shared experience with one another that hopefully is meaningful to y'all as much as it is meaningful to me to be up at 10:30 at night. Like,
yes, that's what I'm saying. Thank you.
We are very intimate right now.
Yeah, no, Tyomi, one of the first things Tyomi was talking about was how many cherries we were popping. And she was so excited. I was like, I'm new to a lot of this.
Yeah, so even, you know, like having this conversation about something that is intriguing to you, but is somewhat, you know, personal, and we're doing it in this kind of forum, it's intimate. It's something that is going to bring just this group of folks here on this call closer together, and that's what intimacy is about. Sometimes, you know, you get that in sex where you know, whatever the experience is giving you physical closeness, but can also be giving you emotional closeness, spiritual closeness. You know, there's so many things, but oftentimes intimacy gets like broken down so fast into sex, and we definitely lose so many opportunities for closeness and meaningful connections when we only focus on that physical connection, or just sex being the only way to be intimate. But like, you know, just sitting here and, you know, me rubbing King's arm, it's, you know, we're having physical closeness without having sex, but that still is intimate.
I just came when you rubbed my arm, though.
So then we have sex.
I was going to say the two are definitely interlaced. They're so interlaced, like,
for sure.
And it is very important to have that distinction, though, because I think people miss out on what we consider to be the little things, you know, in intimacy. Just kind of like having a moment where you like lock eyes, you know, you just stare at each other, just appreciate each other's presence. You know, I think having those moments are just as good as, you know, having a good fuck. Let's be honest, you know, and it is. And in that, I think that you have to really know what you need to be able to communicate to your partner exactly how to take care of you or how to approach you. So how often do you think we're asking our partners, like, what do you need from me? What do you need?
Personally, we communicate quite often about what it is that we need for intimacy. Sometimes it is, you know, a sit down and like a review of like where we are, what's working, what isn't working. And sometimes it's just a day-to-day thing. I think yesterday it was like, I need you to put your, I need your hands. I need, you know, I need touch. I need help relaxing. And just in those small ways, just being able to articulate, this is what I need. And also being okay with your partner responding like, sure, I'll be happy to do that when, you know, in a couple of minutes and things like that. So, you know, I think sometimes we are afraid to have conversations about what we need because we're also afraid when we might be rejected. And, and so I think when we share what our needs are, whether our partner can meet them or not, I think it is very intimate that we can even voice our needs to our partner, and that be like something to celebrate in itself. Because oftentimes we're stuck with this, like, you know, why doesn't he do what I want him to do? He should know better. Like all of these like assumptions that somebody is reading our minds, or that we're all trained to love each other the same way. And we miss, the opportunity to voice and have agency over ourselves and make ourselves responsible for our pleasure. And sometimes that means potentially facing rejection or facing a not right now, or I can do it, but I can do it this way. But the important part is, one, that you've at least taken some responsibility for your own pleasure by voicing your need. And then, the best thing is if you and your partner can reach some type of compromise or some type of agreement of how that need is going to be met.
I think most people don't speak up enough. I think most relationships, like when people come to me for relationship advice or how do they open up to speaking about fetishes and kinks with their partners, it usually seems that there's been years of under communicating their needs with their partners, and vice versa. I think Jazz touched on it a little bit, that we are kind of taught in this society that you're going to meet your soulmate or your perfect match and everything just works. You don't have to speak up for yourself. You don't have to ask any questions. You don't have to, they just get you. They just know. And that's not how human beings work, because even if you meet somebody and y'all just click from the beginning, as you grow and as they grow, there are new layers that are on you as a person now. There are new experiences that you have. So you're not the same person that you were 5 days ago, 5 months ago, 5 years ago. So if you're not communicating how you're growing and the new things that you want to experience, or the new things that are piquing your interest in regards to intimacy, kinks, sex, whatever that is, or even just what interests you in regards to knowledge and what you want to experience in the world, right? Then you just keep growing further and further apart. So it's very important to keep that communication and letting somebody know what it is you want, what it is you're looking for, and what you want to get out of the relationship, and also what you're here to provide within the relationship as much as possible. Like that, it has to be a constant thing. Like we're in our own heads, so we know what we want. We're in our own bodies, so we know what we feel. But your partner is not. Your partner is not a mind reader. Your partner is not experiencing the world exactly as you are. So you want to share as much as possible so they can start to understand who you are and what you might want and need.
Yeah, and like with that, like, right, like you guys are two whole people, right? Like we keep coming back to this word whole, but you guys are two entire people, right? Like there's a lot of pressure when someone that you care about, someone that you're intimate with, is looking to get certain needs met. And I know, like for myself, I've had this like idea in my head where it's like I gotta hold my lady down, I gotta hold it down, I gotta hold the relationship down. And so it's like, how do you balance, I guess, that idea of hold it down versus what you might need for yourself, right? Like the relationship versus self.
Yeah, that's a constant struggle, I think, especially for people of color. I'm gonna go ahead and bring it there. I'm gonna speak specifically as like for a Black woman that like I gotta hold it down. That's happening in our head too, And if both people are trying to be independent and strong and hold damn thing down by themselves, heads are gonna bump, right? I remember one of I remember having that exact mentality, and this was with a very unhealthy partner, but it reminds me of the concept of thinking like, I'm doing this for us, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to, be pretty and be this and be that and meet all your needs. And I remember this fool told me, I didn't ask you to do any of those things.
Yes. Oh, don't they do it?
I'm like, I'm being a strong Black woman holding it down. Like nobody asked me. All he wanted me to do was give him some money so he can go flip it and lose it. That's all this person wanted. You can
I only need one type of ain't shit.
That's it. And we can be running circles around each other because of this idea or this pressure to provide or to not be needy, to only be, needed, or to provide constantly, that we don't get our own needs met, And B, we're probably needing or trying to do things that are not even being asked of us or required of us in that relationship. It's a lot of wasted energy. And then you feel taken advantage of, or you feel resentful because you were trying to do something that was right, but not necessarily right for that relationship, that individual, or yourself.
I don't want to hold the relationship down. I want this shit to soar. I want it to fly.
I know that's right.
I think sometimes those kind of ideas that we have, they weigh us down. And if we're all like, you know, if we get so into the relationship, but at the same time, we're only within our own blinders, we're not really in a relationship anymore. You know what I'm saying? We're just going through the motions, because a relationship requires communication first and foremost. You know, when you're in a relationship where, you know, you're like, I gotta do X, Y, and Z instead of we need to do, or we need to talk about how we're gonna do X, Y, and Z, then you're kind of like going down your own road in your own path. And, you know, a lot of times that's like, the path is if it's not together, then it's just going farther and farther off the path that y'all have to have together. You know, I think I've definitely been in relationships like that as well, where it's like, yo, gotta hold this down, and then you're not even thinking about what you're holding together. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's kind of like where it come in with that.
I could definitely relate to that. There's been a lot of times that I think, you know, put so much into a relationship because for me, I was carrying guilt from my past. So from past relationships, past traumas that I either felt or I inflicted. And so this relationship here, I'm kind of bringing all of that with me and holding it to this pedestal. And I haven't even reached a point of agreement to understand that this person isn't giving the same level of effort simply because we haven't had that conversation. The conversation I had with me was, oh, my next relationship, I'm gonna make sure it's like this. And I'm gonna make sure I do this. And I'm gonna make sure I never do that one thing that only applied to that person in that relationship. And I'm already trying to carry it over. So it's funny how we take these traumas and we think that we've improved ourselves, and we're actually bringing pain or stress into this new place.
Yeah,
that's real.
Oh, absolutely. I want to share something. It can be really hard to reflect in the middle of your relationship when trauma or baggage has made its way into, you know, new relationship. It can be really, really hard to do that self-reflection at the same time. And one of the things within our relationship that I'm really thankful for is because we've had a lot of hard conversations about who we want to be in our relationship, what our past has looked like, and kind of, you know, what's in our baggage. Sometimes we try so hard in going into new relationships, like we don't have any baggage, like we're coming to this with a clean slate. Right. And it's just not true. It's unrealistic. If you are we have baggage from childhood, family trauma, generational trauma, our neighborhood trauma, and then go ahead and add all your interpersonal relationships, you know, from childhood to adulthood. We do come with baggage. We come with experience. And so we've had lots and lots of conversations about those life experiences. And when we do see some of that baggage presenting itself, we're able to hold each other accountable or to help each other recognize that, you know. So sometimes King might look at me and be like, hey, I'm me. Our relationship this is our relationship. That sounds like something that took place before me. And, you know, it gives me a moment to check in and be like, okay, that's fair. You know, so I think our partners can be really, really instrumental at helping us develop personally, and also helping us keep those bad things from past relationships, those behaviors from past relationships from making their way into your current relationship, if you're willing to share and be vulnerable about those things with your partner, you know. So, you know, going into a relationship, even if you've been in it for many, many years now, and you're like, damn, I missed the boat to be honest, or I missed the boat to bring those experiences, if you can do it now, like you can start now in terms of saying, you know what, there are some things that I feel like I haven't let go of from the past that are having an impact on our relationship now. I'd like to talk about them, and I'd like you to help me identify them when you see them. So you can definitely still have that conversation.
How do you like handle the emotional impact though? Like when you are checked, like, hold on.
I cry
This
like
is
a big
not
old baby. I do. And you know what? That's one of the things that we had to talk about, is that just because I'm crying, it doesn't mean that we have to stop talking. It's just me expressing my, you know, my embarrassment, my fears, my insecurities.
Thank you.
You know, but it's not, because early on I would be like boohoo crying, and King would be like, see, that's when we can't have this conversation.
Right. I think
they didn't give up on you.
You know, or you know,
I'm in condition. Like if there's crying, I need to stop the crying. The crying needs to stop. Crying is a bad thing. That's the condition.
So
that's what I used to think as well. Like it'd be like, oh shit, I must have done something really fucked up if there's crying. Yeah. Like what did I say, or what did I do, or how do we stop the crying?
No, but the crying must continue.
I mean, I think that's why the men, because y'all let it all go. And you know, there's been scientific studies where they find like cancer cells in tears and shit like that, that, you know, you're releasing.
Yo, well then I'm gonna be cancer free, baby, because I'll be crying my ass off. I'll be out here.
Yeah.
Faucet.
And men, we told you, you better hold that shit in, you better buck it up, whatever. Right. But we hold in all of this shit that we need to let go of, which then toxifies our bodies.
Let it go.
I know. I mean, for me, I feel like I don't know that things happen that necessarily make me go like, oh, I'm going to cry. Like I don't know that the urge is there. And I guess for me, I think maybe therapy would unlock that for me. It's like if I'm subconsciously holding back the tears and I don't even realize it, I feel like Jasmine's like grinning, like she's trying, like ready to get in there. But
you know, I'll be sure to send you my information. But no. I mean, we all express ourselves differently. We all express our emotions differently. But I think there's definitely something to be said on how we've been socialized to express those feelings. You know, men have been told, little boys have been told not to cry, to suck it up. And don't make a girl cry. You've done something wrong if you're making a girl cry. No one has made me cry. This is my body expressing how I feel. And so, you know, when we're crying, it's not a fix-it moment. It's maybe an opportunity to say, would you like me to get you a napkin? Do you need to pause for a moment? And let's get back to it. But it really is just an expression of feeling. So Tyomi, to answer your questions, that it does, getting called to the table for your behavior may feel uncomfortable, it may feel embarrassing, it may feel vulnerable, but it is necessary. And you do have to just remind yourself, if anybody's gonna call me to the table and hold me accountable, let it be my partner. Yeah. Let it be the person who represents me and I represent them. Because I know that they're doing it, you know, from a best interest standpoint. Yeah.
I think a lot of times too, we're more likely to do that shit for our peoples, like our homies or our close friends, to call someone out on something or be accepting to somebody being like, yo, son, you out of pocket. You know what I mean? Like we're way more conditioned to hear that. And in relationships, we're kind of conditioned to fluff, make everything fluff. Everything is supposed to be like smooth and easy. But like anytime I've ever spoken to, like, you know, when you always meet those couples that have been together for like 20, 30, 40 years, they'll be like, yo, we had this rough patch, or we've been through some shit together and we made it through because we valued each other, or we held each other accountable. Like if you really talk to older couples about what they've been through and how they got through it, it wasn't from fluff. It was from being real with one another and holding each other accountable and leaning on one another when they weren't strong enough, that they had someone that they trusted to hold their relationship together, or to help push them through or help rise them up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've never spoken to a couple that's been together for a long time and being like, yo, man, this shit was all roses and strawberries. I ain't never met those people. You know, so I think that there are certain aspects of relationships that, you know, we don't get, because so much of relationships that somehow has become what we expect is like the Hollywood version of it. You know what I'm saying? Like
the romanticized
version. Yeah, and
of
it's
it.
like usually in Hollywood movies, they follow the same, you know, boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl back. But usually they lose the person over is a misunderstanding. It's never like some real ass shit. It's always like, I saw you with such and such, and it looked like you were kissing. No, I fell into his arms. It's always some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, oh yeah, you know, I had a kid that would have been perfect relationship that I didn't know about that just showed up in my life 18 years later, and now we have to get to know each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's some real shit, but that's not something you should leave somebody over, because it had anything to do with you 18 years ago. But that y'all are together is gonna help this relationship be nurtured, because that child can now see, like, there's someone in their parents' life that they love and care for, that loves and cares for them, that you are now welcome in their space, or whatever the case being. You know what I mean? Like, I think we have these fantastical versions of what relationships are supposed to be, but in reality, the truth and the grit and the trials and tribulations and the triumphs that you go through are actually fantastical, because y'all make it through that shit together.
Yes.
You know, so like when you can start being real with one another and being like, yo, I love you, I want to be with you. This is something that's hard for me to express, or it's hard for me to deal with this aspect of our relationship. How can we work through it together? Those are the things that then y'all look back on 5 years ago, like, remember when that shit was a problem? That shit ain't even nothing no more.
Well, you know, that like having this podcast and centering it around Black topics, Black people, I think like how Black love is such a big deal in terms of like a hashtag and people say like things around goals around Black love. I think it really does go to, there aren't very many examples like that example that you gave about that 18-year-old coming back later. Like that's the kind of shit that we hear. You know, I mean, we hear all kinds of things, but we have some real nuances of the types of issues that relationships face in our communities and our culture. And when we're watching these rom-coms, they're really not good templates for anybody's relationships, but they certainly
at all
don't capture any of our experience at all. So I think it is that it can make it that much more difficult for us to learn how to communicate with one another, how to be vulnerable with one another, how to get through the grit that you're talking about, because we don't get to see the complexity of relationship, especially for how things set in our cultures.
See, now you got me thinking, like, what's the best Black romantic movie?
Oh.
Yo, actually, so bringing that up just takes me back a couple weeks. So, you know, obviously with like quarantine, everything's different now with the movie theater situation. So like down the street from my house, there's a big stadium and they're doing like drive-in movies. So I had a drive-in movie date, and we go to this drive-in movie and they're playing Love Jones. And I've not seen Love Jones, right? But I've seen like all these other movies from around the same time. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I'll go see Love Jones.
Wait, Nico. Look at Tyomi judging you because you said you hadn't seen Love Jones.
No, right?
You said,
I love that she did, because that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing, right? So she's gonna look at me like it's blasphemous that I haven't seen Love Jones. Now, mind you, right? So I'm 31 years old, right? Or I'm about to be 32. 31 years old, and I'm about to see Love Jones for the first time. I'm watching Love Jones in 2020. I am horrified at what I am seeing. I'm watching this dude catcall this girl in a record store, follow her all the way to the front, steal her information from a check that she hands to the person that he knows who works there, who said, no, because I don't want to get fired and that's not something that I'm finna do. He's gonna say, hold me down. This nigga gonna show up at her house, bro, at her house, and then she lets him in. I was just like, red flags were like shooting. I had like steam coming out of my ears. I'm like, this is wrong. Everything about this is wrong.
Wow.
Like, what is going on? And then like the rest of it is just toxicity, miscommunications, lies, and dishonesty. And I was like, bro, the 90s were so fucked up. This is insane.
Wild.
I can never watch this and I can't unsee it.
Yeah.
That's my rant. That's my TED Talk on love.
Yo, that's real though, because I now that you said that, so I was doing a live the other day and I was playing the album from John Coltrane and Duke Ellington, where that song In a Sentimental Mood, that everybody now calls the Love Jones song. So I had that on in the background and somebody starts talking about Love Jones like in the chat on the live, and I didn't remember all the details. I just remember Nia Long's friend. I forget that lady's name. What was her name? Woman that played Nia Long's friend in that movie? Something Carson. Oh, she was so beautiful. And she don't be in no more movies. So that's what I remember about Love Jones. But I think movie-wise, and I want to see what y'all say about it, Jason's lyric.
Is that when it was fucking hours?
They was out in the bayou and shit.
Oh, that's the only part I remember. But yeah, that made me want to get out there and start fucking.
Yo, Jason,
the realness.
Lyric was the shit. I remember Jason's lyric.
I just wanted to be. I wanted
with
to
Jada
be having sex. Like that was just all I remember about the movie.
I thought it was real. I thought it was having sex for real in that movie.
I just wanted to be
with
real outside.
And actually, I want to get into that because I feel like so many of us, I know me, like I got my impression of what sex was supposed to look like from movies, right?
Yeah.
And there's never any talking during these sex scenes. So I know, I know this is a thing that I'm looking to get help with. I know that I'm not good at like speaking in the moment on things that I want because it makes me feel weird to not. I guess I overthink how the girl is gonna receive not knowing how to please me off the bat. So then I get in my head about telling her how to please me because it's like, well, that might alter what you know what I'm saying? And just I get in my own head about it. So it's like, I'm sure you hear from people all the time, like the little hangups that they have around communicating what they need sexually. Like,
yes, we do.
So you have a really, really good technique.
I always give it up to Angelina Castro because we were having this conversation on set one time and she had kind of said like, she's not great at like just coming off the cuff with dirty talk. So she developed a descriptive dirty talk. So like basically if something's happening, she just says what's happening. If she likes what's happening, she says it in a sexy way. You know, if she don't like what's happening, she probably just, I don't know, push somebody away. But she might not say anything. But she always just says like if I'm sucking her titty, she's like, oh yeah, you sucking that titty. You know what I'm saying? Like she'll just say it in a way that's like, you're like, oh, she said something, I'm gonna keep sucking that titty. Right. But I always thought that was good because a lot of people aren't comfortable and are afraid to say the wrong thing, are afraid that, you know, might kill the flow or the vibe. And I really think when it comes to overthinking these situations, most people do well with positive reinforcement. So even just saying, I like that feels good, keep doing that. Anything along those lines is gonna have that, it's gonna keep rocking for you. If there's something else that you want somebody to do, it's always worked for me to be like, same thing, positive reinforcement. So let's say, so like women have this thing, I call it the pepper grater, where they be doing this shit when they be I don't like that shit. It doesn't feel good. I've never liked it. No. And you always have to be like, you know, if like usually they do it while they're sucking like on your head or something. So I'll be like, yo, that feels real good on your head. No hands, no hands. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Because
right.
they know not to stop the part that feels good, but
Right.
like taking my skin in two different directions. You know what I'm saying? Like
You got a big dick, King. It's like easy to do that, especially if you don't have big hands. You know, you gotta have big hands for that thing.
just work the dick then in the same direction. Don't go in two different directions. Like,
you ever give someone an Indian burn? Like, it don't work like that.
Jack your own dick, put it in my mouth.
I'm fine with that too. That I know exactly what I like.
Direction. But you know what, Nico? I think what that technique that you're talking about, King, just starts to make you feel comfortable talking, saying something. You know, you might not be ready to give the whole description of exactly what you want or how to guide, but just learning how to hear your own voice during sex is a good start, right? So just learning how, or practicing describing what's happening. The other thing too is, for me, it got a little bit easier to talk when King gave me reassurance, like, oh no, I like you telling me what you like and don't like. Like, I don't, you know, I please.
Yeah, empowerment.
Yeah. And kind of the same thing what you were saying, Nico, like, actually your partner may really, really be like, oh, thank God you told me that, because it's getting hot under here. You know? And so ultimately, we want our partner to feel good. So when we're getting instruction, it's like, oh, okay, good. Now you're telling me to do something that I know for sure you're gonna like because you're telling me, you know. And then, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say that goes back to the same thing we were talking about just in relationships in general, like sharing with your partner the things you like. Also, you might not want to always share the things you like in the moment in bed, right? So kind of having a conversation after sex or over dinner or at the drive-in movie when you're trying not to let Lorenz Tate's character scare you and shit. You know what I'm saying? You could just be like, yo, you know what I like X, Y, and Z. Next time that we're doing this, I remember that you did this and that shit felt amazing. Please do more of that. You know what I'm saying? Or build off of that because then they already know, like, oh, okay, this is what he likes. So then when you're back in that moment, you can talk again, like, oh, you know exactly, like if you just want to have like dirty talk, you know, oh, you know exactly what I like. You're doing that perfect. You know what I'm saying? Why don't you also cup the balls when you do that?
Jasmine, go to
That's the bop.
You put your whole...
That's the bopping. Like that old
diabolical, you look like the most diabolical saxophone player I've ever seen in my life. Like, yo, that solo is crazy.
So listen, I have an assignment for y'all.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All right.
Oh
He and I did this maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I'm gonna tell him. So listen, this is the thing. Getting comfortable with dirty talk can start without it being dirty. So we did this exercise. I don't know, it was just random. We were thinking of other topics to talk about other than sex during sex. So we had a whole conversation about music.
Yeah, it was all music. No, but you were saying, what are things that you could talk about during sex that can still be sexual? That can still be like sexy and sexual.
Right.
So we were
food
about like food, music. I
don't know. We was having sex. I can't remember.
But it was kind of like
the conversation not matter. Pick something. Like.
Yeah. So I encourage you. You know, even if it's with masturbation, having trying to hold a conversation, with yourself, or if you're doing something with a partner, or virtual masturbation where you're having and holding a conversation about something perhaps that is outside of sex to get comfortable. What you think, Tom? What you gonna talk about?
I've done this unknowingly, like in the middle, like I'm having sex and then my sister or my mom calls and says, like, I have to take this call. And then I'm on the phone, trying to maintain this conversation and still receive pleasure. And it was great. I kind of felt like it was exhibitionism in a way. It's a third person there, but it's like an invisible.
It's edging. It's edging because you can't let go. right?
Yep.
The restraint is kind
Trying
of
to
like,
maintain my voice.
it's a psychological restraint, a physical restraint, and then it's also that like little no, they don't know. There's like a little secret that's going on that only you and your partner are aware of. So definitely, I'd love to hear back, to follow up and see what that was like. Did it feel more comfortable? Is this another way of engaging with your partner and being intimate? And just getting comfortable with hearing each other's voice. There's a lot of laughter that comes out of that. And then, I think that it would be just kind of fun, a fun thing for you guys to try without involving your mother and your sister.
Yeah, nah. I'm definitely gonna try that during my self-pleasure sessions. I don't have a partner. I don't have a quarantine bae, at least not yet. We'll see.
Quarantine bae. That is a thing.
Yo, it's a thing. It's about to be real. So and especially in thinking about that, like everybody kind of being in place, when it comes to intimacy, like how do you maintain that? Even just like personal intimacy with self when you're in such a close container with someone for so long, like you really can't go. Because like, even if you live together, if you have jobs that, you work outside of the home, you'll be gone for a while. But now it's like everybody's working from home behind the computer. And so how do you still maintain like individual intimacy and time for self, but then also come together and maintain that unified intimacy?
I'll let you go first.
Okay. We've been quarantined together from March 17th, 2020.
Was it March?
It was March.
It was February.
No, we got back from traveling at the end of February.
2018.
It feels like it. The cool thing is that we generally spend a lot of time together. We work together. So we're used to being in each other's space and talking to each other pretty much all day, every day. The difference is King usually, we travel together, but King usually stays away from home for about 2 extra weeks at some point in time. So normally during that time, I'm home. I get to do all my grooming. That's kind of like some of the interesting things that we realized. I'm like, damn, like you got to see all of this, like, and, so that even those little things, like making sure that I am still keeping up with those routines, and even though we don't have the same level of privacy, like talking about it, like I need to take a really long shower. I really need to do my whole head to toe routine. This is what will be going on for a 2-week process while you're gone. So I think that's been important, is to not give up those things that make you feel good, that make that personal intimacy. There have been times throughout the quarantine where I've said, like, I'm going in the room to take a nap. Like that's like, I need me and my toy. Like I just need that right now. And we respect those boundaries. It's not a rejection of one another. It's just like, I would be doing this normally, and I need that normalcy still in my life. So we've been really open about the times that we need space. We've also done things in our household to like create a schedule and a structure within the household. So pretty much, somebody has downstairs at a particular time, someone has upstairs at a particular time. We've kind of worked out a routine so that we're not always in each other's space. And then at the end of the night, we do have like an intimacy routine where we go on our porch, we talk about our day, we sage, and we watch the news together. It's very important.
Yes, muy importante. I know I live with y'all in Vegas. The news is man.
So yeah, that has been a part, like the more practical ways of making sure that we have some boundaries for self and for our relationship. What am I missing?
I think for me, I am an only child, and then was on my own for a very long time, so there are certain like you know, when we would travel and I'm like going off to shoot and other things like that, I would have a certain amount of time where I could just be in my own space and just not talking to nobody, just quiet in my zone type shit. And, you know, that's not here at this time. So I found other times, like, you know, I go out, I'm like, yo, I'm gonna just go take a walk, or I'm gonna go somewhere and go work out, and just trying to find that for the solo time. But then for me, being home has actually been a blessing because I'm able to spend more time with the kids. Jazz and I have had more time to like build with one another and, you know, plan for different work projects, different home projects, different family and life things that we want to achieve. So I haven't looked at this as being, I mean, obviously there's things going on in the world, but at the same time, I've looked at what's happening in the world as a time to work on self and cleanse self. And, you know, when you're part of a family and you're part of a unit, that self is also trying to work towards balance within your unit. You know, so I think that during this time, that part of the intimacy, like on some real shit, like we don't know what's about to happen in November. We got someone in office right now that's talking about they're not gonna accept the results of an election. And as people of color, and we've been seeing, you know, neo-Nazis, Klan members, 3%ers out in the fucking street. That means to me, I gotta be on point. I gotta take care of my family. I gotta take care of the people that are close to us and make sure that we're healthy, make sure that we're safe. So that's a different kind of intimacy. You know, that's like real shit intimacy. And then on top of that, we've got a global pandemic going on. So that also means, how are we gonna stay healthy? How are we gonna stay safe? How are we gonna take care of our loved ones and people within with our own people who might not be in a situation like we are and need some sort of assistance and help or understanding of the situation that we're in. So it's definitely forced not only intimacy within the unit, but intimacy within our people. Because there are so many, like this pandemic, the pandemic stopped being a problem for this administration when they found out that it affected Black and brown people more. That's when all of a sudden was like, everybody go get back to work, send your kids to school. This ain't shit. So that means, no, I'm gonna reach out to other Black and brown people I know all over the country and with people who got kids and seeing how they doing and, you know, what we're gonna be doing as a collective to make sure that we can move forward and get through this, you know? So I think it's opened up intimacy in a lot of different ways as well.
Kind of circling back to one of the first and earlier questions in terms of sex and intimacy, I think there a lot of shows that we've been on in interviews and things have been asking us like about like sex during quarantine and what are things that people can do to be intimate with one another virtually or maintain relationships and all those other kind of things. I think those are important, and we talked about a couple of them here. But the one thing that I think we haven't shared and we haven't steered the direction of conversations to is that it's okay right now if you don't feel sexy. It's okay right now.
Yeah, it is.
Feel like having sex with yourself or with anyone else. The things that you just shared, like that, yes.
That shit ain't sexy.
It's not. It's real.
It's not.
You know, and when you are concerned about your family, your livelihood, your health, your wealth, all of those kind of things, it can have an impact on your performance. It can have an impact on anxiety levels, on depression levels, all of those kind of things. And those do take a toll on our sexual libido. It takes a toll on, you know, when Nico was saying like in relationships, I gotta hold it down. And then hearing King like, I gotta protect my family. Like,
yeah, the mirror.
Pressure.
So much pressure.
It's a lot of pressure, and we thank you for it. Like, yes, you do. Yes. I want you to hold that down. I want you to, but I don't want to add an additional layer of pressure, you know, to that, or to make the assumption that you can operate and compartmentalize what's happening in our world around us, the uncertainty of our future, and somehow you put all that to the back burner. and like, you know, show up sexually in the way that maybe you have in the past. So it may take longer conversations to, or it may take a lot of extra effort to get to a space where you feel comfortable having sex or being intimate, or it may take an extra song in your playlist to, you know,
to relax
and get into that zone with yourself. Nothing is wrong with you. Everything is wrong with the world. It's okay. Give yourself some grace during this time.
And kind of building off of that and staying on the level of intimacy. This is a once in 100-year kind of pandemic situation. The people that you do, whether you're quarantining with somebody or you have someone that you reach out to talk about what's going on with you or what they're speaking about, you know, that level of intimacy is a life-lasting intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
you know, even if you might not, you know, get married and have kids or do whatever, like, you will never forget the person that was there for you during these times. You know, if you're somebody who has lost a family member to police terrorism or brutality, or knows somebody or you've been brutalized or terrorized by the police, and during this time, you know, you've gone out there and you've marched with people, or you've worked with people, sharing these conversations about this shit that's going on right now. The people in these connections that you make, this is still intimate. You know what I'm saying? It's still intimate to share things that are troubling to you, or things that are distressing to you, and somebody sharing like, yo, I'm here for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's intimate. That's powerful. You know, those
Yes.
levels of intimacy don't come around every day. You know, so to know that somebody is there to be there for you, you know, honor that, value that. Don't look that just because it's not sexual that it should be overlooked, or that, or don't undervalue it because it's not sexual. You know, cherish that intimacy that you're able to have with somebody during this troubling time, for sure.
Y'all thought we was gonna come on here and talk about peeing on people and all kinds of fetishes and shit, huh?
Right.
Gotcha. First episode.
Yep. Gotcha, bitch. But that's necessary. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, King, because we're living in real times. And as Black people convening together, we had to bring that up. Like, there's no way we could even end this podcast without that coming into the conversation.
Yeah, I'm excited. I was excited to get to y'all's relationship, learn a little bit more about how y'all keep it healthy, how y'all, you know, keep that relationship and that connection strong, because what y'all have is something that's very unique for a lot of people. I think really everybody on this podcast leads what a lot of people call alternative lifestyles, right? And in reality, it's just our lifestyle, whatever it is that we prefer. So it's been an enriching experience to hear from you guys and to get that perspective.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
What the both of you accomplish on this show, and we hope to come back and talk more about some fetishes and some
Please.
We pee on people next time.
Yeah, we got you.
I'm gonna drink a gallon of water before we get on the next show.
Who are you gonna pee on?
Whoever around. Whoever around.
The drive-in is just
I'm gonna piss on someone at the drive-in movie.
Before we get off, we do want to make sure that we get everybody's Instagram. So I'll definitely make sure that the guests get that off.
Okay, cool. You can follow me at Jet Setting Jasmine on Instagram.
You can follow me at The Real King Noire on Instagram, and at King Noire on OnlyFans, because that's where I really get it popping at.
Yeah, but he be peeing on it.
Money.
Sure
There'd be some piss videos on
it.
A few golden showers.
Golden.
You can find me on Twitter at Glamazon Tyomi and on Instagram at Real Glamazon Tyomi, and follow my blog, Glamoratica101.com. And of course, here at the Black Hole.
You can find me on most social media platforms under Neek Nil, Neeknil. definitely looking forward to connecting with all of the people that we're looking to enlighten on this podcast.
And thank everybody in the chat room for hanging out.
Mm-hmm. Good night, y'all. Don't forget.
Good night.
Yo,
Right.
don't do that. Don't do that shit.
Stop. Yo, edit that out. Edit that out.
I'm putting on your Instagram right now.
No, man. People rely